Hello everyone, welcome to this channel. I'm Babajide Ojo. So the results are in from my people with fully funded offers, from the last admission cycle. And here I present what these successful grad school applicants did and how you should prepare for the next admission cycle. So the first thing I noticed from my cohort of mentees was that 20% of them had a first class degree, or what we can estimate to be about 3.6 over 4.0 GPA. Now the reason this gives you an advantage is because a high GPA means that you can be trusted to take grad school seriously. All our undergrad experience is probably the first time many of us were, out of the house, without supervision. So that final GPA assumes that you were disciplined enough to fulfill your duties, which may translate to success in grad school. So if you still have a chance to get a first class, it's time to fasten your study belts and get back to studying. Of course, after finishing this video, okay? So the second thing that I noticed was that overall, about 60% of these candidates had at least one test score, either the TOEFL or the GRE. As a matter of fact, about 100% of them that had full admission and funding without a first class, those who had no first class degrees, every one of them took the GRE and had good scores. So what I have realized is that when they tell you that the GRE is optional, submitting a good score will significantly help you, especially if you don't have that high GPA we talked about earlier. In fact, I have an interesting story for you. So one of the students, I remember he had a second class GPA, so he was not a first class student, and from our conversation I realized that he studied for the GRE for about 17 months and he got a score of 338. Yes, I didn't stutter. That's 338 out of a total of 340, and he wasn't a first class student. He mentioned that he started studying in the final year of undergrad, so he already knew what he wanted right before graduating, and now he's finalizing his national service, what we call NYSC in Nigeria. Now this is just to tell you that this thing is not about how brilliant you are most times, but how dedicated you can be to study and get a good score so that you can achieve your goals. Now this guy that I'm talking about, I hope to bring him here sometime for a chat. That will be when he resumes, but he's resuming a fully funded MBA program here in the US with a good monthly stipend. I'm sure you've heard probably that master's students don't get funded in the US. Well, that might be true, but with a great score and if you put together a great application, nothing is impossible. And I'm sure for this guy, if he puts the same dedication to his MBA, his life is set. When he sent an email thanking me for mentoring, I was like, dude, you did yourself a huge favor with that kind of score. With that kind of score, you are going to walk into most programs in R1 universities in the United States. And what was interesting again was that he only submitted one application, because when he sent out cold emails with an attachment of his GRE score, their enthusiasm in the departments, the enthusiasm they had towards the email was apparent, so there was no need to waste money applying to many schools. So he only applied to one, I believe, and he got it. So the bottom line is test scores still matter in many cases. It is a major way to equalize the playing field, especially if you are from a disadvantaged background. But the question now is, how bad do you want it? So the third thing that I want you to know is you need to think about sending cold emails with a win-win approach. So that's what I call it, win-win approach. Now in my free course I talked about how to send a cold email. I know it is a fairly long email, which still works for certain people, but if you attended our monthly meetings last year, we talked about an improved and a shorter cold email template. So essentially what you do in this short email is that you are not just begging to be mentored, but you are also touting some specific set of skills that can help the professor address specific research problems or research questions, additional questions that may come from their research as you train under, their mentorship for your master's or PhD. That ability to think beyond what 99% of your colleagues will do may get you some good looks. Now, for my cohort, 5 students reported that they used this approach and 3 of them were successful. That's about a 60% success rate. So I think it might be worth trying, because it tells you, or it tells the professors that you know what you're doing. And if you don't know what I'm talking about in terms of the email, I will put the link to that monthly meeting that we had last year. I'll put it in the description below so you can watch it and see that section where we talked about cold emails, and see if you can try that this year. Now, this is my fourth point, and it's a very important one, and this is for my friends in the life sciences or natural sciences. Now, I want you to know that a master's degree now may not necessarily elevate your prospects for a PhD over others. Especially, this is important, especially for my people back home. Please listen carefully, okay? Now, in many fields, you can get into a PhD without a master's degree, straight from bachelor's to PhD if you so desire. We've talked about that many times on this channel. Now, depending on your GPA class, it may be beneficial for you to invest that money and time that you're going to use for a master's into getting a great score on a GRE or TOEFL after your bachelor's, instead of going for a master's. And I recommend that you do this as soon as possible after your bachelor's, so that there won't be much gap. Now, in my experience for the past 3 years or so, a master's may increase your chances for a PhD if, and please underline the word if it exposes you to advanced research techniques and of course good peer-reviewed publications in that field. If your master's will not give you any of these quality experiences, particularly for my folks back home, because I know how we struggle to do a lot of things, please don't waste time, because things get very competitive and even more competitive every year. In the end, you may end up having to still write that GRE that you may be running from to be more competitive for a PhD. If your GPA in bachelor's is good enough, you can just write a GRE and apply for a PhD straight up, instead of wasting time with a master's that will not add much to your credentials in terms of the techniques or the publications that you're going to have. And this is important for those in the life sciences or in the natural sciences. For those in the social sciences, they still do okay even if they have a master's. But if you're going for a master's, make sure it's actually one that would add a lot of technical ability to your current set of skills in that particular field. That is just my experience for the past 2.5, 3 years. So that is all I have today. What are the other things that I may have omitted that you know that can make students successful in their quest for grad school opportunities? If you know any other thing I didn't talk about, please let me know in the comment section. And as always, please subscribe and like this video. Please subscribe to the channel, and you can check out free resources on our website, bestmanacademy.com, for your grad school journey. I'm Babajide Ojo, and I'll see you in the next video.